Hi, so today we've got this Extech MN62 multimeter, and it came in a little 2-pack here with a non-contact voltage detector included with it, but the meter itself also has non-contact voltage detector in it. So we're going to open her up, play around with it, see how it feels, how it performs, and take a look inside. So first thing, of course, is how it feels, and well, it seems to feel not too bad. I mean, it's really solid. It's built like a brick shithouse. The tilting bale seems like it's, fairly sturdy. Let's see how it stands up. Not bad. Pretty slippery surface I got, but the usual bit with the plastic bale. The normal problem, you got this nice rubber surface here with the holster, and they didn't bother to put anything along this edge here. I don't know a lot about plastic manufacturing, but I'm sure that it is possible, without breaking the bank, to add a little, like a rubberized strip along that edge, just so that it gets some grip so it doesn't move, because, I really gotta push it that to try and move this, the base of the meter. She just wants to slide around with the tilting bale. And if I lay it down, I mean, no problem. Range switch feels not bad. It's fairly clunky there, and nice rubber buttons. Well, I guess let's take a look at the leads here. Oh, that feels not bad. I've had some, ordered some wire with a silicone insulation that was a little bit nicer than this, but I'm not sure what these are. They're not quite as soft as that stuff, but it's not your cheap PVC, so I'd say these are, they seem to be not bad quality. Strain relief, so we'll see how that stands up. Really, if the insulation's a good material, should work. Nice probes there with boot. Relatively sharp. And let's take a look here. See if we can see that. I don't know if that shows up. They're claiming, what is that, Cat 3 1000 volts, Cat 4 600 volts. 10 amp, double insulated. No actual branding on the probes themselves. And as for the voltage pen, well, I'll take a look at that after. So I'll just pop in these cheap batteries that came with it and start playing around with her. So we'll notice there's one fuse down there accessible. Not sure, that's probably, let's see if I can see in there. .5 amps, so that'll be for the milliamp. I think this thing was microamp. Yeah, it has microamp and milliamp range, so that'll be for that. You can see there is a threaded insert in there. Looks like a brass insert for the hold the rear battery cover on. So, alright, so first thing I'm going to do is we'll play around with this non-contact voltage detection that's built into it. Let's way around on the other side so it comes up, and we'll see how it fares with wire with no load. So it starts to pick up fairly soon. Then as we get closer, it comes up with more little dashes and beeps quicker. So it's sensitive enough to pick up from the end. And you can even pick up which side is which there. So that's with no load. So that's going to be basically your worst case there, because you're going to, for inductive coupling when there's no load, so you're basically depending there completely on capacitive coupling. So that's good that it seems to work. But what the heck, let's take the camera and go try it around at some other places. Let's see how it fares putting it directly up to the front of an outlet. Let's say with one of those situations where you got an outlet you want to test that's, you know, way behind a bunch of stuff in a hard to reach spot. And look at that. Not even touching it. I don't know if you can see the distance there, but it's a good probably inch and a half away. So see, it's not sensitive enough, which I guess is a good thing. You don't want them too sensitive, but it won't pick up the light switch. Let's check with the wire here. This is running off to the lights over above my workbench. So you can see with the current running through it, it makes a bit of a difference for picking up there. That is, I'll have to get a measuring tape to check, but I'd say a good 4 inches away. Some people might say it's a bit too sensitive, because there it is going off full bore, and yeah, about an inch or so still away from the wire. So after a quick check there with the measuring tape, it was starting to pick up on that wire at exactly 4 inches, and it went to where full meter it was beeping as fast as it goes at about 7/8, might have been 3/4. It was a little hard to tell there. So in that range. So the non-contact voltage, yeah, it's kind of nice. It's fairly sensitive, and having that meter so that it can be a little bit more sensitive is kind of nice. So there we go, 121.7. As you can see, that ranged, you know, fairly quickly. Alright, so here is all the meters, multimeters that I own hooked up together, you know, parallel to each other. Well, I shouldn't say all the meters I own, all the ones that are not, you know, $2 pieces of shit. But anyways, we'll do some tests on the DC voltage and we'll see how they compare to each other. So here I've hooked up to a 9-volt battery, and as you can see, we're pretty much getting about the same. Excuse me. As you can see, we're getting about the same reading here off all the meters. So they're all pretty damn close to each other. So that would say that they're all within spec when they're within a couple of digits like that. So adjustable supply here, and we'll look at that speed there at which they auto range, well, except for the Mastercraft meter, which is a manual. Looks like they're all ranging fairly quickly. You know. Alright, so now I've reconfigured all the meters to read current and put them all in series, so we'll just see how they compare with the actual current flowing through them being the same. We'll take a look at the burden voltage of the meters next, but as you can see in the milliamps range here, they're all quite very close again, which is no surprise, as nowadays with digital meters it is not difficult to build a meter that can have a good initial accuracy. And again, we'll just see how they seem to fare here. Drop that down a bit so the poor manual ranging mastercraft is still in range. And yeah, I mean, as to be expected, if you're in one spot on a range, you're going to be, everywhere should be pretty good. But alright, so I replaced that 470 ohm resistor with a 1 meg now, and switched all the meters down into the microamp range. So again, as you can see, they're all within a digit of each other. And if we crank that up, let's see, let them all settle. Yeah, they're within 1 digit of each other still, so that's all good. Alright, so as I said, we take a look at it. So in the microamps range, yeah, it's sort of hovering there, but basically 101 ohms of resistance there for the shunt. Okay, well, I got interrupted, so while we're at it here, I'm going to do a test that Extech probably never thought of. But we're going to baby test the meter and see if it keeps working after baby plays with it for a bit. What do you think? Is it good? Well, apparently the meter is not as good as the test leads. I think this is the part where I need to put the camera down. How's the meter? Does it work good? Good at banging it? Good for clunking around? Did you break Grandpa's meter now? Did you break it? Are you done testing it? See? Well, it still turns on. I guess that means it's baby proof. Alright, now that the baby testing is done, get back to the current measurements and the burden voltage. So the microamp range had the 101 ohm resistor, and we're looking at about a 2 ohm resistor on the milliamp range. So that's still at the full 400 milliamps up at the top where it maxes out. That's a 800 millivolt drop that you'd have across there. So that'd be a 2.42% drop if you were powering a 3.3 volt device. That you want to measure the current off of. And there, for low power applications, there are a lot of chips that will operate on even lower voltages. So yeah, pretty much typical. Just be aware of the burden voltage. It's not like it's super great. So next up, maybe we'll just check the input impedance. I haven't read through the specs on it, like the full manual. So I'm not sure what it's supposed to be, but let's take a look. Alright, so using the unity meter again, so about 11 mega ohms. It's reading 11.1 for DC voltage there. And yeah, no surprise, the AC voltage should be the same. So the input impedance is about 11 megs, which seems to be fairly standard in the digital. Alright, and I just thought I'd plug her back in here to the mains, and we'll check the frequency here, and it's saying it is 60.03 hertz. And yeah, 60.03. So as we should have off of the mains, 50% duty cycle. And of course, now that I'm part way through, would be a great time to notice that there's actually a backlight and hold. So you got hold. If you just push the button, which makes sense because your backlight you're just going to turn on, you know, or off. So yeah, the backlight is actually pretty bright, and yeah, I mean on the camera there with the angle it's not super great, but if I tilt it up a bit there you can see it's pretty nice. Makes a big difference there. So on the ohms range there, she's pumping out just over half a volt, so you should be okay to not be turning on you know, stuff while you're probing it. On diode, oh there we go, 3.22 volts, so you should be able to light up a white LED. Actually, I will go grab one and we'll give it a shot. Lighting her up, it's reading 2.6 volts, so it's probably fairly low current. So let's check what current it does the diode check at. Alright, so the diode check is running at basically 1.25 milliamps, we'll say. This meter supports capacitance as well, so let's go ahead and measure a few electrolytics, just because I don't, you know, this is the shortest lead that I have, and I'm not sure where its matching pair one is, and this one's longer, so long lead's not great for trying to measure really small capacitors, and honestly ceramic caps have such a large range. But anyways, getting 100 nanofarads reading off of that, and that's 0.1 mic, so that's right on. Of course there is quite a tolerance with electrolytics as well, but as you see the smaller values, it is picking up or reading them fairly quickly. 23, I believe this is a 22 mic, so we'll try 100. Thinking pretty soon we should start to see it slow down a bit. Yeah, there we go. It's starting to slow down and actually reading these. Now we'll try this super cheap Chong X, and it's 3300, so well, it's already detected it's in the millifarad range. It should be 3.3. Cheap piece of crap. Doesn't surprise me that it's under. Not gonna question the meter. I'm not sure what the specs are. I'll have to get those out before the end, and we'll see. And here's a 4700. Again, large value is going to take a while. It's still pretty reasonable. So I'm happy with that. Alright, well, so far I'm pretty impressed with it. It seems to be you know, decent meter. It feels you know, like it's good and solid. It's got a bit of weight to it. The rubber holster is kind of nice. I don't really know about the little rubber little holders in the back of the holster for your probes to go in. Never actually used them, but I guess I should try it out. Hey, those actually fit in there really quite nice. Almost a little too loose actually, but yeah, that's not bad at all. So nice attention there to a bit of detail. I've had that on other meters and I never used it before. I don't really like it. So let's start ripping into it and see if the inside is as nice as the outside. I have to say I'm a little disappointed that there's only the one fuse there that's easily accessible. But should just take a look and notice there is a blast shield around most of this cover here. And you can see the corresponding slot with which you know, having that fuse in there is you know, kind of a concern, but not really You know, super happy here that this comes up and then stops. It doesn't actually extend all the way around up at the top here. You know, if you look closely there, I don't know how well that's going to show up on the camera, but you can see this is for where it goes into the groove, and then the groove stops and the plastic steps down there a bit. Which, yeah, well there, I think you can see the notch. So, not too sure, maybe they've done some testing and found that it hasn't, or that, you know, you're not going to get a blast that far up. Look at that. The rest of the meter has a nice big big lip there. You can see for the blast guard. So really nicely done. And oh, look at that. Board looks fairly clean. We'll zoom in a bit here if I can. And you can see that's the only bit of dirt that I'm seeing so far is right there, a bit of gunk. Some sort of residue maybe where the board didn't get cleaned, or is it actually warped? I'm not sure. But the rest of the board is looks really good. Oh, try and get her to focus here. So yeah, that's it right there. The only thing that pops out at me with the board. So far looking pretty good. So there'll be the 10 amp fuse. I'm actually surprised that it's shorter. The current shunt there. So it looks like, yeah, we got you know, full PTCs and MOVs and everything for input protection. You know, there's the there's diodes there. 1, 2, 3, 4 matching diodes. A 5th larger diode, so yeah, I'd say there's you know, the full diode protection there, and let's see all the jacks here, how they're proper terminals with a little tab here coming out and around, and they seem to be, you know, they're screwed in there, well anchored, so shouldn't be putting stress onto the onto that solder joint there. So let's see, go grab a small screwdriver, see if I can pop that out and get the take a look at the other side. We'll take a look at the range switch. Alright, so there we go, got it apart. Just another thing, I did notice that there was washers on here, and you can see in the other part, you see how the connector's embedded right in there with a little insert for it to for those tabs to screw into. But I noticed there was a little washer, but then when I took them apart, I realized that they were actually a lock washer, proper you know, split ring lock washer. So just nice little attention to detail there. So yeah, not much. I'm not gonna pull that off. I hate the little zebra strips and trying to get them all lined up again. So we'll just take a look at the range switch here, and yeah, nothing too spectacular there. So looks like it's probably a very light gold plating would be my guess. I'm not really an expert. I don't professionally manufacture a lot of PCBs, but I don't think that yeah, that's not a nickel, or yeah, nickel plated. I don't think. I think that is a very light gold. Well, probably a nickel with a light gold on top. Yeah, you see there's a, you know, some grease in there to lubricate it, and just bring it into the shot here. There's the other part of it. So yeah, pretty basic. Just your little, you know, V-shaped spring contacts in there, and you know, by the looks of it, you know, they could put them in different configurations, so it's probably a generic range switch that they've made, which there's nothing really you know, or I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You know, you gotta keep your costs down in manufacturing somehow. So that's it for for inside. It looks great, looks beautiful. I think I forgot to mention at the beginning that I got this meter for $50. Well, the package of the 2 meters for $50. I'm going to put this back together, and then let's take a look at the non-contact voltage pen that comes with it. Alright, so I mean, there's not really much to these. There's no on-off switch with this one, which is fairly common because they usually have such a tiny drain for the with the circuit. You know, it doesn't use much. All of it goes, the current is for the flashing LED and the buzzer. So when you're not using it, it's not really worth putting in an on-off switch. But I've got the batteries here that came with it, and I gotta say that is really a nice locking mechanism there. And you know, just looking in there, that's pretty skookum looking battery holder. And you know, they didn't mark the batteries on here, and I noticed it's on the cap. They've got the polarity marked out there, so put them in the right way. Put that in. It's you know, that's a nice weight now. So I'm not sure what to expect. We'll see. Some of these, it might be like the handheld meter. Maybe it's got a high and a lower sensitivity, but let's find out here. So bring it down. Well, I'm assuming it doesn't have a high sensitivity. There we go. So that was almost touching there before it went off. So that's the problem I find with these things is, you know, there I'm touching it but not pressing against it, and it's not really going off. So yeah, it's nice to have that sensitivity because you can go, okay, oh, there we go. There's the you know, which one's live, and you know, same thing sticking into outlets and that. But you know, sometimes coming up it'd be nicer if it was maybe not quite so or a little bit more sensitive. Of course, that can make it useless in a panel or distribution box or something where you're trying to get in there. You don't want the other wire setting it off except what you're touching, and that's where a two-tone system might be nice, where, you know, it goes off at a lower frequency, you know, when you're further away, and then when you get closer it lights up, or even a little switch or something. But I guess they're trying to avoid that. Now, I don't remember, I didn't look. No, there's no, it's not like there's an O-ring or anything in there. Because I thought maybe if they had glued that, you know, and there was an O-ring, you wouldn't want to switch it all because you've got it, you know, not necessarily so that it could be submerged, but just for field work, you know, if you're out and you get rained on and that, be nice. But alright, so I grabbed the packaging there, and in between that cardboard was the manuals. So all it is for the little pen here was just this one sheet, which doesn't really surprise me. I mean, what is there really to cover with it? So there's just the specifications here. It's saying that it 50 to 600 volts and 50 or 60 hertz detection distance, you know, 0.2 inches. Almost forgot the most important thing. Didn't check the buzzer. Let's check the continuity buzzer right now. So it latched a little slow. Oh, there we go. It might just be crap on there. No. So yeah, not bad. That's pretty good. I haven't cleaned these probes up to make sure there's nothing, no oil or anything from the factory. So, Once I started tapping the very tips there, it seemed to be very quick and latching. So yeah, that's pretty nice. So yeah, I mean, Extech, awesome, good job. Alright, so in conclusion, I gotta say I'm really impressed with the Extech meter. I think that was awesome. It was at a good price. It was about the limit of what I want to be spending for a meter, of this type, something without data logging. If it was something that hooks up to the computer and does data logging, might be willing to spend a bit more, but I'm pretty cheap. I don't want to spend more than $50. Picked it up. It was on sale at Canadian Tire. Gonna have to double check. Like I said, I checked when I first saw these because I couldn't find the specs and that. I couldn't get the user manual off Extech's website. There was no mention of this meter even existing, so it made me wonder if it was a really beautiful looking clone that somehow Crappy Tire got pawned off on. So I had emailed Extech and they told me that it was a new product at that time, and this would have been at the beginning of summer, so I'm not sure if things have changed or not, if they have the specs out and the manual and everything, but they said they were launching it in Canada exclusively at Canadian Tire. Not really sure about that part of it, if that was a good move on their part, but regardless, managed to get one at a good price for $50 for the meter and the non-contact voltage detector here, the little probe. I gotta say, it's an awesome buy. If they release them internationally and you can pick one up at a price that's comparable to that in your area, then definitely would recommend getting it. If you're in Canada, check it out. If you're at Crappy Tire, see if they have them. I don't know if I'd pay the regular price. They wanted $100 for it, but definitely for the $50, absolute steal. Almost tempted to buy a second one just to have two of them at that price. That's it. Till next time.